biggest misconception is that sleep training is abandonment, that it damages attachment, that babies aren't learning a skill, they're just shutting down because
Hmm.
their system has gotten so overrun with cortisol. They believe no one will come for them, so they just stop calling out.
I know.
That's not true.
If baby sleep has you overwhelmed, you're not alone, and you don't have to guess your way through it. The Peaceful Sleeper by Chrissy Lawler offers a loving, science-based approach that actually works with your baby, not against them. No extremes, no confusion, just real guidance rooted in connection and research. You'll learn how to read your baby's cues, navigate sleep challenges, and finally get the rest your whole family needs. Grab The Peaceful Sleeper wherever books are sold and start getting better nights starting tonight. Welcome back to the Running Wine Mom podcast. I'm your host, Samantha Selinsky, aka the Running Wine Mom. Today's conversation is one I know so many of you are going to feel in your bones because we're talking about our kids' sleep, but not in the surface level, just try the schedule kind of way. And if you've ever found yourself wondering, am I doing this right? This episode is for you because sleep has somehow become one of the most debated, emotional, and honestly confusing parts of early motherhood. Everyone has an opinion, everyone has a method, and somehow moms are left feeling like they're either doing too much or not enough. So today we're cutting through the noise. I'm joined by Chrissy Lawler, founder of The Peaceful Sleeper, who has helped thousands of families navigate sleep in a way that's gentle, responsive, and actually rooted in connection, not fear. We're covering newborn sleep, toddler chaos, big kid struggles, and her new book. And yes, we are going there on the controversy around sleep training and the guilt that comes with it. And if you've ever felt torn between wanting more sleep and wanting to do what's right for your child, this conversation is going to give you clarity and probably a little exhale. So without further ado, welcome, Chrissy. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be with you today.
Yes, and congrats on your new book. Thank you for sending it to me too. I loved getting a peek into it before it came out, so I appreciate that.
Yes, thanks for accepting it and thanks for having us on. It's such an important topic and you introduced that so beautifully because there's so much fear and shame in the
So
parenting
much.
space, especially around sleep.
Yeah, I just had a conversation in my group chat of my girlfriends from high school, and we're all over the place with kids. Some are much older, some are, brand newborns, and the topic of sleep came up, and they're like, "Wait, how long is it going to be? Like, this kid slept this way, this kid didn't sleep that way. Some of them did sleep training, some of them did none." And so I'm like so excited to send them this episode and just be like, "This is what the professionals say."
Yes,
Yeah,
yes. Seriously, it's so confusing. And
so
when we get
confusing.
thrust into having a brand new baby that doesn't sleep well,
Yeah, it's
on
hard.
top of all the hormone changes and the identity changes, the sleep deprivation is no joke. And
No.
so sometimes the advice of just like, yeah, just write it out, it'll get better one day is like, okay, but I need help
Yeah.
tonight.
So for those who are listening that maybe have not heard about you or the Peaceful Sleeper, can you just tell everyone a little bit about yourself and why/how you got into the world of newborn sleep?
Yes, yes. So I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I've been
Oh,
practicing
cool.
for 15 years. I got my start in sleep actually in my clinical practice working with adults because I realized very quickly that when we are not sleeping well, we are not thriving. And
No.
so one of the best ways to improve the baseline functioning of the clients that I was working with was helping them improve their sleep. And then
Okay.
I became a mom and realized, oh my gosh, I am not functioning well
Yeah.
because I'm not sleeping. And I've always been really confident, really outgoing. I've never really struggled with depression or anxiety. And so I kind of naively thought that postpartum depression and anxiety couldn't happen to me
Right.
because I'm naturally happy and I'm also a therapist. So I have all the skills and tools.
Right.
And so that jolt of, I have this new baby, nothing has ever felt so important to me in my whole entire life. I am used to being a straight A student. I'm used to following a formula and doing everything right and feeling really confident that I can handle whatever comes my way because I'm just going to work hard and it'll work out. And so I think my world got rocked a little bit. And I
Yeah.
realized quickly that a key to my functioning and thriving as a new mom was getting good sleep, but
Yeah.
also the key to her optimal well-being and development was for her to get good sleep.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of made it my mission. I read everything that was available. I'm kind of a research nerd by nature, and so dove into all the studies and just realized that the world of baby sleep is so conflicting
So conflicting.
and it actually leads to way more maternal anxiety. And so when helping professionals make you feel worse about yourself
Right.
and more scared and overwhelmed, it actually is harmful.
Mhm.
And so I just kind of made it my mission to be a voice in the space that could welcome everybody, recognize that what is right for you is going to be a little bit different than what's right for your best friend. And if the family system is functioning and thriving, and if people are genuinely sleeping well, it doesn't matter how you got there. It just matters
Right.
that you're
It's
getting good sleep.
for sure. And I totally relate to the like, getting straight A's and doing following rules and by the book. And when I had my first, I was like, well, like, what am I supposed to do? And then I followed some things where it's like they have to sleep from at this certain time to this certain time. I'm like, well, what if they're not sleeping at that time? What do I do? So it was all very confusing. And like you said, like what works for me does not work for other girls in my group, and it has to feel right for your family. So I love that you made an approach that could be accepted by, anyone. It's so important to make you feel more comfortable as a parent because it's one of the most stressful things to do. And so your approach it's described as gentle, responsive, rooted in connection. What does that look like though at the 2 a.m. moment when a baby is crying and the mom is exhausted?
Yes. So I think there's a little bit of a misconception in the parenting space that gentle and responsive means that we're not allowing our kids to experience frustrating moments.
Mhm.
And that actually backfires. It's really important for our kids to have safe containers for struggle, frustration, learning, growth, protest. And so it's responsive in that from a developmental psychology perspective, we are looking at how do we arrive at independent skill development?
Mhm.
How do we tune into the child to know when do you need support? When do you actually need time and space?
Yeah,
Now all of my kids are older and I realize more and more, like, this is a dynamic that plays out for literally your whole entire
for
parenting
sure.
journey.
Yeah,
You know,
I totally agree
sometimes
with that.
your kid trips and falls at the park, and the right answer is to stay right on the bench, thumbs up, "You got it, buddy." And sometimes the right answer is to go running, scoop them up, and have Band-Aids or go get stitches, right? So, like,
Right.
it's about tuning into the child, tuning into yourself to feel empowered that I know where my kid is at, what they're
Yeah.
capable of. And actually, the more that I believe my child to be capable, the more they believe it of themselves.
So true. It's so true. And I love that analogy that, I mean, even as adults, sometimes we still need our mom. And sometimes they're like, you're an adult, you need to figure this out. But there's still that need to, go to your mom for things. And I think that so there's so many different training methods out there. There's Ferber, cry it out, the chair method. But what do you think most people misunderstand about what sleep training actually is because it's like a scary word in the mom space.
Yes. So I think, the first most popular book about sleep training from the 80s took a way more rigid
Mhm.
approach. Talked about like just set your baby in the crib at 7 p.m., come back at 7 a.m., and whatever happens, happens. And
Uh-huh.
eventually they'll start sleeping through the night. And I remember in reading in that book, he told this success story of like the baby cried and screamed for 4 hours the first night, but only 2 hours the second night, and only 30 minutes the third night. And it's like, okay, I guess that's great that the method worked in 3 days, but that's way more intense than it needs to be. And so I think that's the biggest misconception is that sleep training is abandonment, that it damages attachment, that, you know, babies aren't learning a skill, they're just shutting down because
Mhm.
their system has gotten so overrun with cortisol, they believe no one will come for them, so they just stop calling out.
I
That
know.
that's not true. That's
Right.
pulled from studies from a Romanian orphanage where they did look at, yeah, babies eventually stop signaling when they know their needs won't be met.
Right.
Unfortunately, yes, but
Yeah.
that's not what's
Like it's a
happening. Yeah,
yeah.
that's not what's happening in a 3-day intervention where
Yeah.
we're looking at 10 minutes of
Yeah.
allowing some room for protest. So, it doesn't have to
Yeah.
look like that.
That was I saw a video of someone and they were saying like when, you're leaving your baby in the crib to cry, they don't know like an evolutionary if a lion is coming for them or what and I was like, I cannot my brain can just not go here because how do they ask the baby? Like, do you think a lion is coming to eat you? Like, I don't, I don't understand.
Yes, yes, it
But
just
it's
becomes
scary when
so
you hear that.
thorough.
Yeah, because 'cause you're like,
Of
"Oh my gosh,
course.
I don't want my kid to be thinking that." You know?
Yes. Yeah.
So,
Yep.
well, what do you think is one mistake you see even the most well-meaning parents making when it comes to sleep?
Um, I think honestly the biggest mistake that I see well-meaning parents making is over intervening, over protecting
Mhm.
because they view their infant as totally helpless,
Right.
incapable of learning. And look, don't get me wrong, like our newborns need full support those first 4 months. It is our job as parents to kind of help their brain develop, lay that groundwork with support, show them what the structure of good sleep looks like. Before 4 months, they are not reliably capable of self-soothing.
Yeah.
But when they start to be able to manage self-soothing and regulation and consolidating sleep cycles, it's perfectly appropriate to give them some time and space to figure that out.
Right.
In much the same way that a newborn can't support their weight on their
Mhm.
feet or can't hold their head up, but I think a lot of times people give this sleep advice about newborns and they're applying it to a 9-month-old baby,
Very
saying
true,
like
yeah.
babies aren't capable of self-soothing. And it's like, well, a 9-month-old is capable of self-soothing. A 9-day
Yeah,
old is not.
correct.
Their nine
Very
month
different.
olds can pull themselves up to standing. A 9-day old baby can't. So like we have to be careful when we just say babies because a lot of
Gonna say when they're that young, like 1 week difference is a huge difference than, at 4 or 5 years old.
Exactly, exactly, and so it is our job as parents to be attuned and responsive and meet their needs, but it's also our job as parents to help them thrive and flourish and develop, and
Mhm.
their good quality sleep is super, super important, and so if
Right.
you can get good quality sleep for your baby with lots of intervention from you or co-sleeping, that's fine, I'm not gonna fight you on it. I
Right.
just wanna make sure that baby's actually getting good sleep and that as a parent, you are getting good sleep because your good sleep also matters for your child's outcomes.
Right. And I can attest to that. Like when I'm on no sleep, I'm useless, totally useless. And that's something that you talk a lot about empowering parents, not just fixing the baby because it has to do with both of us. Why is that such a core part of your method?
Because I've been a therapist for 15 years, and a lot of the clinical work that I do is with moms maybe 5 or 10 years ahead.
Mhm.
And so I get a little bit of that bigger zoomed out picture where I have realized time and time and time again when a mother runs herself ragged in the service of her child and her husband, if she is not careful,
Mhm.
she will run dry. And that's where resentment festers. And that's where much bigger chaos
So true.
unfolds.
Yeah.
And so the best thing that we can do for our children is make sure that we are not losing ourselves in the process. Because
Mhm.
you may think as you're holding that sweet little 3-month-old baby in your arms, I could never resent you. I'm always going to be responsive to you. But guess what? That 3-month-old is going to turn into a 7-year-old that's giving you attitude or a
So
17-year-old
true.
that's giving you attitude. And it's not, let me preface this with I do think we always blame everything on mom, right? But
Mhm.
also the reality is like most people when they come into therapy have some things to talk about regarding their
Yes.
mom.
Yes.
And it's not what happened with their mom when they were 3 months old, it's what their mom said to them when they were 13. It's
So
the way
true.
their mom treated them, showed up for them, and so I think we emphasize so much about, like, attachment, attachment, attachment. Your baby needs everything from you right now, and I really just kinda wanna sound the alarm and say, "Hold on, they do need a lot, but we can do it in a way where you're not running yourself dry."
Mhm.
Because
So
if
true.
you run yourself ragged, it will come out later and it is not pretty.
Yeah. So something that I was not prepared for was the whole fourth trimester. And I thought that I was just gonna have this baby and then I was gonna sleep train them while I had my glass of wine, which did not happen, obviously. And you hear sleep training and you hear newborn, but like what does sleep actually look like for those first maybe 8 to 12 weeks? And what expectations do we kind of need to let go of that I certainly had to?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, like I said before, the 4th trimester kind of threw me for a loop too, because I was like,
So
wait, I'm
much.
used to being good at everything and I have no idea what I'm doing. So so I like to remind parents that your baby comes out of the womb incredibly neurologically immature. They
Right.
cannot even hold their head up. They can't even focus their eyeballs. They can't keep themselves from punching themselves in the face. So
So true.
there is a little bit of radical acceptance that we need going into it that I can't really reliably expect a whole lot yet. What I can do is provide the space and time and the structure so that their brain can start carving these pathways. So think about water carving through rocks. It's not just one right thing done once and it works. It's laying a foundation. It's a history of repeated exposures.
Mhm.
So that's where we're looking at the 4 pillars of a solid newborn sleep foundation. So we
Mhm.
are optimizing feeding, trying to get as much in baby as they can comfortably take at each feeding, and consolidating those feedings every 2 to 4 hours. Every 3 hours is a helpful framework, but there's a little bit of wiggle room
Yeah.
there. We're also looking at optimizing timing. So we want to prevent overtiredness. And it's our job as a parent to recognize some of those sleepy cues and signals when the brain is primed for sleep, but they don't really know how to do it yet. To say, oh, I can see that you're getting sleepy. Now I'm going to help you fall asleep so that
Right.
I am touching, you're sleepy. Now let's do this. And laying that groundwork so that baby doesn't have to kind of figure out that connection.
Yeah.
And then we're looking at soothing strategies, helping our baby stay calm and content day and night as much as possible. Because the more calm that they can find, the more calm they will be. This is laying the groundwork for their temperament for
Yeah.
life.
For life, for sure.
Yes, and then number 4 is treating sources of discomfort. Our babies not only are neurologically immature, but very digestively immature.
Mhm.
And so if they have food sensitivities, oral ties, if they need massage, chiropractic care, craniosacral therapy, like really figuring out, are there signs and signals that you are uncomfortable?
Mhm.
What additional resources, if any, do we need so that you can be content as much as possible?
Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's great advice. And yeah, I was, I wish I had that before. That's the other thing too. I think parents should maybe learn about sleep training before they have the baby because I think it's so many like myself was just in the mix of it. And you're like, what's our plan? What are we doing? And you're already exhausted. So I hope everyone listening takes that part and like saves it somewhere. But so why do you think sleep is a necessity, obviously, for all of us? Our kids are eventually going to sleep, but why do you think sleep training is one of the most polarizing topics in parenting?
Think because it's widely misunderstood. And that's one of the parts that I'm honestly the most proud of in my book is that I go through the arguments against sleep training, kind of line by line, look at the data that they are citing, because actually when people in the anti-sleep training space come out really loudly against sleep training and say research shows, they're actually citing sources that have nothing to do with sleep training.
Right.
Every sleep training study has found that it is safe and effective, and it can be an intervention that you can use comfortably if you want to. You also
Mhm.
don't have to sleep train. So if you
Yeah.
don't want to, you don't have to. But if your family isn't sleeping well and you want to intervene, there are ways that you can. So I think
Mhm.
number one, it's misunderstood. There's a lot of misinformation and cited research, where one of the ones they like separated a 5-day-old baby rat from his mom and put him in an incubator and then measured brain and heart proteins. And then people take that to say, see, separation from the mama is incredibly stressful for infants and we shouldn't do it. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that's how much are we gonna take from a rat study? And also, that's not really talking about these, like, 10-minute increments
Right.
of sleep training, and
Yeah.
also, like, we're talking about animals that didn't have any informed consent, and we just snatched the baby away, so,
Right.
like, I don't know, if I'm at the park and somebody just snatches my baby away from me and I don't know where they're going, like, that's
Right.
going to be incredibly stressful, but
Uh-huh.
that's not what sleep training is. Sleep training provides so much relief for parents.
Mhm.
And like, I feel like myself again, sleep training is the best thing that I could have done for myself. Then sometimes it can get framed as this really selfish thing,
Uh-huh. I totally agree
something
with
that you're
that.
doing to your kids so that you can benefit. And that's where I just remind parents that A, your well being also deeply matters.
For
And B,
sure.
actually, if you are thriving, that is one of the best things that you can give to your kids. So it's not selfish, it will come back and benefit them tenfold.
Yeah. And there was, and I don't know if this is the right research or not, but I saw something where it says that like the mom's temperament really sets the energy for the whole household. And if your energy is, and I do believe that because I know when I'm not in a good mood, no one else in the house can be either. But um, what is like the harshest criticism that you personally received as a sleep trainer? Because it probably has to be hard with the internet and having such a big following that people love to give their opinion.
Yeah, yeah, it's wild. I think really I take a couple issues with this, but I think the harshest criticism is just when people say, like, "This is child abuse." So if I
Oh,
get
yeah.
called a child abuser or people say, like, "I feel bad for your children,"
Ugh,
it's painful on a personal level because it's like, well, A, you really don't understand. You
yeah,
clearly don't even know me. Like, I'm actually a really nice person and I'm trying really hard to help people.
and you are helping people.
But also as a trauma therapist, I'm like, "Hey, there are actually millions of children in this country that need an advocate.
Mhm.
Go help them." Like,
Right.
there are children in your town, in your city. If you want to be a champion for the child that is maltreated, please go volunteer for CASA. Go be an
Mhm.
advocate. But tearing down a well-meaning mom whose children are actually deeply loved and thriving, you're not actually helping
Yeah.
anything. And it's funny now that my kids are older, I'll have conversations and, I'll tell them because I'm really strict on social media with my kids. Like, I'll tell them, like, look, the internet it's a terrible place and people say mean things. This is what somebody has said about me. And it's so funny to see them just like totally flabbergasted and like, wait,
Like,
what? They feel bad for me because you sleep trained me? Like, that's what?
they're like, "I don't even remember that part of my life," you know?
Yeah, like, so to just see, like, wait, why do they think that I'm sad? They don't even know me.
They
I'm
don't
like,
even
I
know
know,
me.
it's
Oh, I know. It's so funny how the internet, like, makes assumptions with things that they have no idea about. It's very interesting. So you have a new book. Again, congratulations. And can
yeah,
you talk about why you felt a book would be necessary in addition to your program?
yeah, I think that what has happened with the internet and social media has just started to become really toxic.
Uh-huh.
There's an MIT study where they found that misinformation got to 1,500 people 6 times faster than true facts.
My
And so, like,
gosh.
just from the initial drop to how long does it take to reach 1,500 people, misinformation travels so quickly.
So
And
quick.
what we see on the algorithm is that I don't know if you saw this, but the dictionary, I think it was Webster's dictionary or something, they have their, like, top 20 new words every
Oh,
year,
yeah. Yeah.
and it was rage bait this year. And really, I think that just goes to show kind of the more polarizing something is, the more controversial it is, the
It's so
meaner it
true.
is, the farther it spreads,
So
and
true.
that's just I don't wanna play that way. And
Right.
so I still think despite all the information that we have around us, a book that has 146 peer-reviewed sources in it will hopefully hold a little more weight than that one Instagram account that you saw
Yeah.
once, and I think new parents especially, when we are in such a fragile mental state,
Yeah.
I wanna give a new mom a resource that's tangible, that's in front of her, where she doesn't have to weed through all of this other
Yeah.
toxicity to find a couple of good nuggets. I think it's so important that for our best information, we stick with books. I think
Yeah.
social media can be great for scrolling, for celebrity gossip, but I don't think it should be the primary place that we get our information. It's
It's
this
yeah,
it's
and it's
scary
like
out there.
once you start looking up like sleep training on TikTok or something, and then it's like your algorithm goes to all these different things, but like now you're getting an influx of stuff and it's all contradicting each other and you're not sure what. So I think a book is definitely the most important thing for us to remember that is where, something that's researched we can go to.
It's so funny because there's so much information available now and so much data, and it's quite the conversation. Like, social media is terrible for our mental health,
Oh my
and
gosh, so
we're
bad.
still consuming it because we're addicted to it.
Hmm.
But I don't know about you. I don't think I've ever seen a study that suggested that reading was bad for your mental health.
Right.
So
No, that's so true.
as I'm in this mental health space for new moms, I'm like, I don't want to be part of the problem. I want to go back to what we know is good and helpful and
Yeah.
give a mom a place she can get information that isn't going to have so many other negative effects along with it.
Yeah. And also to have something to pick up in that middle of the night, feeding to say like this is what I instead of again scrolling on your phone, it's a nice alternative. Do you have a specific chapter or moment in the book that was your favorite to write about or that was the most meaningful to you?
Yeah, I think, I did have a lot of fun with the section in the book about debunking the myths of sleep training. But really the parts that are geared towards empowering a new mom and letting her know you are good enough. You are doing a good job. If you deeply care about your children, if you are learning from the best sources, if you are trying your best, your kids are going to be okay.
Right.
And I think there's so much noise about, like, you have to do this or that or this or that to be a good enough mom, and I kinda wanna take the opposite approach of, like, if you're the kind of mom that's sitting here reading a book, you're good enough, like, let go
Right.
of all of that pressure and just show up for your kid, love them, repair, you matter. It's like the warm hug that I try to give every new mom because I wish I had had that. I'm just like,
Yeah.
you don't know what you're doing and it's okay. And you're new and that's fine. I'm going to give you a couple pointers, but you're doing great.
Yeah, I know. You do, you feel so alone, even though motherhood has been a thing for so long. You're like, wait, but no child is the same. So how are we supposed to know really what to do? Um, so we talk about newborn sleep, but toddler sleep is a totally different game. More opinions, more stalling, more like one more hug. What changes developmentally to make that stage so hard? Because some people have gotten their kids sleep trained well and then they turn toddler years and they're like in their bed at 2 a.m. and all that stuff.
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot that is developing in the toddler years. One, their imagination is developing and growing, so they actually have legitimate fears. They
Hmm.
When the imagination first develops, they have a really difficult time discerning what was just my imagination, what was a bad dream, and what actually just happened. And so their emotional need is much greater at that point. They also are learning, they're kind of in their first life crisis where they feel very, very big in their very small worlds. They feel a lot of power.
So
I
true.
get to pick the blue plate or the red plate. I want everything just the way like I run this house. But they're also very much realizing how small they are in a big, big world.
Mm,
And so they're in this first crisis of like, wait, am I big and powerful or am I small and helpless? I'm both. And so they do need a lot more of that guidance, nurturance, reassurance, but they also deeply need boundaries
yes.
and they really, really need good sleep. And so the way that we arrive at shifts a little bit, but it's no less important.
Yeah. I'm as you're saying all this stuff, I'm thinking of my kids last night. They had a sleepover in my son's room and they're like calling, crying in because my daughter's telling a scary story to my son and I'm like, "What are we doing here, guys?" Um, so how do you help moms move out of that guilt and into confidence when everyone online seems to have an opinion around sleep training?
Yeah, part of it is just realizing that you are the expert on your
Hmm.
baby. And I have a little formula framework in the book about how do I know who to trust? So, what are their sources? What is their reach? What's their success rate? What experts do they cite?
Hmm.
The person that you are listening to, is that somebody that you would wanna be friends with? Like, do you leave feeling good about yourself or do you leave feeling bad about yourself?
Hmm.
And so if we as parents can trust our own instinct, trust our gut, trust our own expertise, and feel empowered and confident, that's where we can learn from this really grounded place where we can
Hmm.
absorb all the information and then take what works and leave what doesn't because not every idea is going to work for every person in the
Right.
same way that me and you exercise differently. Me and
Yes.
you eat differently. If we go to a restaurant, you're going to find something different on the menu that looks best than I will. And that's okay.
My gosh, I absolutely love that because I've never thought of it that way. Like, it's so true. I mean, you understand every kid is different, every parent is different, but it's like every adult is also different. So, like, why wouldn't this motherhood look different? All right. Well, you have given us so much great information and practical resources for helping ourselves get a good night's sleep as well as our kids. But if you could give every mom one sentence to hold on to during the hardest nights of parenting, what do you think it would be?
It won't be this way forever. It's okay that it's clunky. You are good enough.
I love that. We need to hear that more, that we are good enough.
Yes, I think it's every mom's biggest, deepest fear. Truly, like the more that we believe ourselves to be capable and competent and qualified, we rise into that.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, just reminding yourself, you love your kids, you are figuring it out, you are enough. It will not be this way forever.
I love that. I think that's a great place to end. So that's going to bring us to the end of another episode of The Running Wine Mom. I think what stands out most in this that it's not just about sleep, it's about how supported a mom feels in the process and giving her permission to trust herself again. So thank you so much for all of that great information.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. This was so fun.
Yeah. As always, thank you so much for spending time with us today on The Running Wine Mom. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. You can follow me on Instagram at the running wine mom underscore. And Chrissy, where can the listeners find you and your book?
So the book is called The Peaceful Sleeper. Website is also thepeacefulsleeper.com and all social channels are the.peaceful.sleeper.
Perfect. And I will link all of that. So thank you so much for joining us today. Remember, you are strong, you are capable, and you are all amazing. Until next time, keep running, keep sipping, keep getting a good night's sleep, and embracing the joy of motherhood. Cheers. And I will be back next Tuesday.